Hello and welcome to this speech masterclass with me, BonBonB. I'm BonBonB, you're very welcome. Well, if you've been here with the two previous ones, you'll remember that we did some erosion lines onto the coastline of this island. We put a little cliff onto the hill on this island, and what we're going to do today is build a beach over on this island. Again, the link to this map is in the description. It won't work for city build. Do not plan to be building a city on it because there is no shipping routes, no highway connections. It's literally just for this masterclass tutorial. And that's it. So we will be using the Woodland 4K theme today, but with Pidelmo's Australia Coast Sand texture using the theme mixer and the Relight Average LUT. You won't need to use any of those. You can use any settings that you like. But we will need to talk about sand textures when we get down there. I figure we want a nice long stretch of smooth, a smooth slope of the smooth arc of the beach, which I think this is quite nice. I could have gone pretty much anywhere, but I think this is going to be quite a nice spot for the beach. Again, where you put your beaches, you will be looking at how the topography would work in real life. I'm just going to show you the technique for getting a relatively realistic looking beach and pitfalls of where you could probably most likely to go wrong. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into the terrain editor. You can use this in the map editor. If you're going to be playing in game or editing in game, you'll need extra landscaping tools by BloodyPenguin, linked into the description as well, which will give you the landscaping button here. And when you go into landscaping, you will find the terrain editor. What we need to do first of all is I want to get the lines of terrain on. I'm using the terrain toggle line mod. Now again, this was just a very quickly created map. It's just some blobs. It's just some blobs in the ocean, and so we haven't got what's going to be a workable beach edge. Because what you're going to need to have a good looking beach, sandy beach, is you need the terrain to move out into the ocean a little bit with you. At the moment, it's dropping right away, and this isn't going to work too well for us right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the simulation, because when you're working with water, you don't want to be working with live water. It will just go everywhere. So what we're going to do is we're going to pause the simulation, and I'm going to take this level terrain tool, select it, and I'm going to choose a level which is just below sea level, just below, about there I feel. And we're going to run along the entire planned coast area like so. I seem to have sand texture already painted out there. Let's get rid of that. That was from testing earlier. Anyway, so now what we've got is a bank which it just runs up, and I'm probably going to want to smooth this out, so I'm going to do that right now. Once the thing catches up with me, I'm going to extend this out just a little bit further, and then we will run the smoothing tool set on the big brush size, not that big though, just to give us a little bit of a transition effect out there. Not that that matters too much, because we will be bringing this in anyway. Right, so now we've got a fairly shallow bank right off the beach. That's going to be key to this working. Next up, I'm going to choose again, go back to the level terrain tool, left click on that. I'm going to choose a smaller brush size of about 40. I think about 40. That's about the depth of the beach that I'm going to want. Now, depending on how deep you want your beach, then you'll probably want a bigger brush. We can push up to maybe a 60, maybe 54. We'll do 54. I'm going to choose the terrain height just around about a meter above sea level, like that. So right click at that point. And again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw along the coast, all the way along where we want our beach to arc, like such. Then we're going to get the smoothing tool, the softening tool, Slightly larger brush there. I'm just going to bring that along here, which will just make the beach just drop away. Instead of having a cliffy type edge at the water's edge, we've got that nice little line across there. Next thing, the sand texture. Now this is where, depending on which texture you're using, which theme you're using, you're probably going to need to do a different sort of style of editing than me. Have it on the high setting, a maximum 100% setting. Bring the brush size down to something that you can control. And just paint along the entire length of your beach. Don't worry about it going up and into the cliff for now, because we can come back and fix that later. Doesn't matter that it goes out underneath the ocean. That is actually going to be the plan anyway. Pushing out. There we go. I'm going to bring this out into the ocean over here. Extend the sandbank out this way. Now, have a look at your beach. And you can see the sand extending up. Each one of these lines of terrain is 1 meter. And you have to ask yourself, how far up the beach would the sand be pushed by the tides? And I'm thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 meters might be a bit too far. So now what you're going to want to do is you want to kind of bring the sand tool down and right click and just try and bring the beach down a little bit from where you've got it. It's going to be very, very tricky because depending on your sand, you can see it'll want to paint to the entire node, and finding the exact point that you're best happy with, I think that's probably the best we're going to get is there actually. And again, if I'm right clicking here and we're not actually getting much, there we go. Getting a little bit coming off of the I kind of want sand, deeper sand there actually. So what you're doing is you're working it to the point where you're thinking that's where the beach. Do we want sand up this far? Probably not, is the answer. I've managed to take out a little bit from up there. Then we say, okay, this beach transition effect, do we want it as a cliff? Do we want to soften this a bit more? I mean, we could soften it a bit more like this, but the shape of the beach would normally be flat before going into a climb. So I'm going to undo the, seems to be undoing the, I have, that's it, that's correct. Forgot what I was doing there. That's right. So I'm liking the cliff effect to an extent. It would go smooth, level, and then a gentle transition up. And what I'm thinking is, like we did with the cliff effect, along the top here, I'm going to drop the brush size down a little bit, brush strength down a little bit. I'm going to choose the level terrain tool again. I'm just going to run a more level edge. Slightly larger brush would help actually. Maybe not that big, about 50. And then I'm going to run the softening tool along like so. And I think we have ourselves a nice looking beach now. Let me come back into the free camera and drop the terrain lines off. So yes, that is a much nicer. I'm just going to start the simulation up. In fact, let's get the water sorting itself out. So the tide rushes in, fills our bank. It'll be fine. This will sort itself out in a minute. Let's just let the water do its thing. And once it's done its thing, we should have a quite a nice looking beach. Swish yourselves back out to sea, guys. Low tide. And is that settling? It's starting to settle now. Brings down to a nice slow simulation. Yeah, and again, what you could do here is a little bit of plant detailing, some beach grasses, that kind of thing. Maybe a palm tree or two if you're in that part of the world. I'm just going to leave this undetailed for now because it is all about the shape of the terrain that really matters here. But there we go. That would be how to get a more realistic beach effect. Bring the beach plate out a little bit, draw the sand out much deeper than you need it to, have a look at how far up the beach it goes and how much you can get away with running it up. And then we've got this cliff transition effect. It doesn't have to be the cliff, you could go from sand into more sand, but just have the slight elevation at that point and then level out and then climbing up into the topography. And that's it. That is it from this masterclass. Thank you very much for watching, for commenting, for liking, and for subscribing. Join me Monday to Saturday for What's Map, where we try and find you the best map for your next city build. And hopefully you'll be seeing one of your maps with some of these new techniques, making you the best map maker that there ever was. I've been BonBonB, you've been very, very welcome, and I'll see you very, very soon.